compiled by the environmental group Greenpeace from 6 continents between 1990 and 1994, displays a remarkable litany of the highest floods, longest droughts, most severe wildfires, and worst heat waves ever recorded. They go on to say that since the late 80s, hurricanes have struck various parts of the world with alarming frequency.
Among the many prophecies that Jesus gave as signs of the last days, his disciples said, Master, will be the sign of your coming and the end of the world and so forth. And he laid it out for them. And among them was famine and pestilence. And there's an estimated 5 to 20 million people who die of starvation each year. As far as pestilence is concerned, I mean, everybody knows about AIDS. That's an amazing virus that has struck in the last days. And the scientists are very concerned, medical scientists, about the fact that viruses are gaining an immunity to antibiotics. We could have a real plague that would make the bubonic plague look like a Sunday school picnic if some of these viruses got loose, that they are immune. There's nothing you can do. And then we have other viruses, other infections that have struck in Africa in some places that they don't know what to do with them. It's not a question of becoming immune to antibiotics. There's no antibiotics that will touch these things. So there is great concern, and it's exactly as Jesus foretold.
We are reading constantly of the tremendous famines that are gripping different areas of the world, and along with those, of course, the viruses, the HIV, and many different viruses that we have not really found yet the answer for. So these are all signs of the soon return of Jesus Christ.
We've just seen the devastating effects of the environment. Earthquake, famine, pestilence, the depletion of the ozone. You may say it's easy to predict these things. I could predict an earthquake, and quite possibly the paper would have it in its edition tomorrow. But can you possibly explain the increased rapidity of these things all at once worldwide? Now we'll explore technology. How could possibly 4,000 years ago a prophet describe so implicitly the technology that's taking place worldwide today if it didn't exist then?
Among the prophecies in Daniel, of course, in the last days, he very clearly specifies the last days, knowledge will increase and many will run to and fro. And I do an awful lot of traveling, probably 150,000 miles a year. And I can tell you, I think of it every time I go into an airport. And I can remember when it wasn't like this. It's amazing. You go into an airport, millions and millions of people running to and fro. I mean, I'm off to Europe. I was just the last couple of months, I've been in South America and South Africa, both. It's astonishing. Running to and fro, exactly as the Bible said. And knowledge will increase. I mean, you look at a computer and think what's happening. The explosion of knowledge on the internet, it's exponential. It's beyond what anybody could have ever imagined. And the increase in knowledge is exactly as the Bible foretold.
According to the prophet Daniel, whose words were recorded some 2,500 years ago, in the last days we would expect a time when people would travel to and fro, literally around the world, and knowledge would increase. There would be an explosion of information. Today, as we look at the information age in which we live, we see that the words of Daniel are being fulfilled before our very eyes.
It's interesting that in the days of David or Abraham, we communicated with handwritten messages. We traveled at the speed of horseback, and we clothed ourselves with an agrarian economy. You can go all the way through history to George Washington, who was communicated with written messages. He traveled at the speed of horseback, and he clothed himself with an agrarian economy. And here in just a short time, we now communicate at the speed of light, we travel at the speed of sound, and we create the very atoms and molecules that we desire for synthetic fabrics. It's incredible to realize the speed at which technology has enriched our culture from a technological point of view.
As we watch the explosion of technology and knowledge, as well as the transportation and communication revolution, we wonder, how could the prophet Daniel have predicted this 2,500 years ago?
Technologically, we've come so far in our advances in what we're doing that it's impossible not to see us going even farther, even if it does cause setbacks.
And scientists even said, I believe, in general human knowledge, we know maybe about 50 more times more than we did, like, I believe it was a century ago, something like that. So, I mean, we're exploding.
Well, with communication as it's developed, I mean, now we can know what's going on across the world within 2 seconds. 100 years ago, you couldn't do that. You know, right now, our community is a global community.
Communications, you know, you can call anywhere around the world. You can get on a computer, go anywhere around the world. That's very important. Technology is just increasing as a whole. As you see less and less cash carried around, more of the cards, the checking, the internet buying at least, and you know, cash will soon be obsolete.
In Revelation chapter 13, we read, "He causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their foreheads, and that no one may buy or sell except one who has the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name."
We are told that the final method of exchange will not be with money, but will be done with an assigned mark that is put upon the right hand or the forehead of a person. Now with modern technology, not only do we see this as a potential, it is happening today.
It's interesting that in our day and age, there is a technology emerging that Hitler or Stalin or any world dictator would dream of, and that is the electronic mechanisms by which one can control all commerce within a nation or perhaps even the whole world by cashless transactions, with barcodes, with implantable chips, and what have you.
Just recently, I took my cat to the vet for a surgical operation, and the vet asked me if I would be interested in having him identified by having a silicon chip implanted in the tissue of his flesh. All of these things that are happening technologically fit into what the scriptures say will take place in the last days, when no man, woman, or child will be able to buy or sell